Welcome to the Intentional Athlete Podcast, where strength is more than a number on the bar. I'm your host, Ross Leppala, powerlifter, coach, and co-creator of the Intentional Athlete Experience. This show is for lifters, movers, and seekers who know that what happens in the gym echoes into your life. We explore how to train with purpose, live with clarity, and channel the pursuit of strength into something deeper, something transformative. Each episode, we'll dive into conversation, tools, and insights that help you align your mindset, body, and spirit. Because real growth doesn't just happen under the barbell. It happens in your mind, in your breath, and in your choices. This is about more than just PRs. This is about presence, power, and progress that lasts. Welcome to the journey, my friend. Welcome to the Intentional Athlete Podcast. Hey, what's up, my friends? Welcome back to the Intentional Athlete Podcast. I am your host, Ross Leppala. Today, I am beyond grateful and honored to have our special guest on the show. It is none other than Sioux-z Hartwig-Gary. Susie has been a massive influence in my life in powerlifting since 2012. That's when I met her. Also when I met Vanessa and Matt, and that was such a formative year for me in powerlifting. So many important people were met that year for me. It's also when I met Mike T. Man, crazy. Anyway, I'm thrilled. Susie has been a light force in the sport of powerlifting for decades. She started in 1991, I believe it was, and has been at it at the highest level possible pretty much since day one. And she does it with just absolute joy on her face, smile all the time, just super fun and happy to be around. So I knew there was going to be a lot of really cool stuff to pull from her experience and her knowledge and her brain and perspective on training with intentionality and what training can do for you, and the attitude and mindset to bring to training so that the training is fulfilling and it is joyful and we can continue on this journey for years to come. So I'm super excited. Susie has been my powerlifting mom pretty much since day one. Absolutely love the woman. So I'm really excited to bring this one to the table for us. So please do enjoy. Without further ado, Susie. All right. Susie, my friend, how are you today?
I'm doing well, thank you. A little tired from a new puppy, but good.
Yeah? What, tired from a new puppy? What's up with that?
Well, they have to get up and go to the bathroom quite a few times in the night, and they whine, and he's in the bedroom next to me, so he's worth it. If you've
Yeah.
ever had a dog, they're
Oh
worth it.
yeah. Yeah, definitely. They're fun as puppies, and they're also fun when they get out puppy stage. Nitro was quite obnoxious in those first couple of days. I literally had to sleep with my fingers in his cage by my bed for him to stop crying. Anytime I took my fingers
Aw,
out, he would start crying, and I'm like, bro, you're lucky you're cute because you're driving me insane. But we got through it.
that's that's what Matt and I keep saying. If Kilo wasn't so dang cute. But the breeder did an amazing thing. They sent us home with the stuffed animal that has a heartbeat that
Oh
you
yeah.
turn on and off,
Mm.
and it soothes them because he lays on it and feels like there's someone close to him. So I only had to lay next to his cage for about 3 to 5 minutes the first couple nights,
Hmm.
and
Okay.
now he's pretty good. So
Well, yeah,
next time
that's
you get a
good.
puppy, you know.
Yeah, I'll have to keep that in mind. I'll have to keep that in mind. Well, as we dive in here, Susie, I'm sure most people know who you are. You've been in the sport of powerlifting and been lifting and been around on all levels for many, many years. But let's just start. I always like to start with just a little intro. Who you are, what
Uh,
do you do,
Introduce
why do you
myself.
lift?
Okay. I'm Susie Hartwig-Gary. I've been competing since 1991. And I had 1 year where I didn't compete due to a neck injury. But
Mm-hmm.
other than that, I've been going strong for, gosh, 35 years now. And I am a massage therapist, although I haven't been doing that as much since I moved to Montana. I'm a executive assistant bookkeeper and a coach for powerlifting. So I kind of dabble in a few different things, use my
Mm-hmm.
mind, use my brawn, use it all so
Yeah.
I don't get bored. Um, I've been blessed. I had the open world record in the squat up until I was about 52 years old, I think. So
Yeah.
that's my claim to fame in the raw. And I was blessed to win one equipped open world championship, and I think 6 master raw, or no, raw and equipped, 3 of each.
Hmm. Okay.
World Championships. So I've been around for a while, but I've also coached on the international level at multiple World Championships. I was the head coach for the Raw team for the US for 3 years. I've been an assistant quite a few times. I've helped at the World Games, and then coming up this January, I'll be coaching at the Sheffield. So lots of experience, and I've coached people from 79 years old and hasn't lifted before, and I trained her up just for trap bar deadlifts and bench, but to elite lifters and yourself.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. The resume is lengthy and decorated to say the least. That's for sure. And
Thank you.
I want to make a point of clarity here. So you started in 1991, and since 1991, you've only not competed 1 year.
Correct. I did a teeny tiny qualifying meet, but in 2003, I actually won the Open World Championships. And then in December of 2003, I had a bulging disc in my neck where I literally couldn't press out the bar in the bench. The signal was not getting to my triceps.
Mm,
So I didn't compete in 2004 except for like a little qualifier meet. But other
gotcha.
than that, I have been competing the entire time, at least twice a
Fantastic.
year.
Fantastic. So you've been competing this entire time since 1991. You have won at the pretty much the highest possible level, multiple world records, winning in raw and equipped. Like, what is what's the appeal to you? Like, what's the first thing that like drew you in and started this journey for you down back in 1991? Like, where was that for you back then?
Well, there was a little bit of pre-story if I can give it to you, but I'll give it quickly.
Absolutely.
Um, I was probably in seventh grade in my friend's basement, and some of the guys were trying to lift up a barbell with weights on it that the older brother had sitting around. And none of the guys could lift it. So, of course, the girls, we were teasing them. And I was such a tomboy. One of them said, "Okay, smarty pants, you go lift it." And I didn't think I could. And I walked over and I think it was 110 pounds and I picked it up. I deadlifted it.
Yeah.
And I went, "Oh, that's so cool. I want to lift weights." So I asked my mom for weights for Christmas. I wanted a weight set and she bought me
Mm-hmm.
3 pound dumbbells because she didn't want me to get hurt. So
Yeah.
then my freshman year of high school for track, they taught us the squat and the bench on a Monday. We practiced on a Wednesday, and then Friday they tested us. They were just trying to see upper lower body strength.
Mm-hmm.
And I weighed 98 pounds. And now wouldn't have been competition standards, but I benched 100 and I squatted 200 the third time I tried. So I was like,
Yeah.
this is awesome. I,
Yeah.
I love being strong. I want to lift. Small school, no room for girls to train. So it wasn't until 1991, I'm in college working out Mount Rushmore, and there's this universal machine the guys were lifting on. And I was like, hey, can I work out with you? And one of them said, "You're strong. You should be a power lifter." I was like, awesome. How do I do it? That's so cool. And so my last semester of college, I found the intramural team, trained for 6 weeks, and then competed 3 times over the next 4 weeks and was like, this was what I was meant to do.
Yeah.
So I graduated with my degree in math and computers and became a nanny so I could move across the world or across the US from South Dakota to Virginia to be a nanny and lift weights because there was nobody in South Dakota doing it. And the honest plan was to do it for like 2 or 3 years. I'm like, I could win a nationals, and that was my goal. And so the next year, I won nationals for the ADFPA, and I'm like, well, I could be better. I still don't really know what I'm doing. And I just liked beating myself. Now, I am competitive in pretty much everything I do. It's just how God made me.
Yeah.
Um, so I love to compete and I love to be stronger, and I like to do things that people don't think you can do. So in the beginning, everybody has newbie gains. So it's easy the first couple years for people to get into lifting and to stay in it because they continue to see progress and usually pretty quick progress. Um, and I guess a blessing for me was when I first started, I was training with some bigger guys that had been doing it quite a while. So they were like, well, just try to get like 2.5 kilos more each competition. So in some ways, the first few years, I would probably held back a little bit. I
Hmm.
really excelled the first 2 years when I was basically just training myself and didn't know what I was doing. Um, but I kept just putting on more weight. But the blessing of that was I was slow and steady, and I made sure I was doing the lifts as good as possible. Like it
Yeah.
wasn't like, oh, you're a girl and you benched 100 pounds. That's awesome. It was like, okay, but you need to tuck your elbows more. Like I trained with Kurt Karwoski. For people that don't know, he was a 5-time open world champion back in the 90s. And he was a perfectionist with his lifts. So I
Yeah.
learned how to do them correctly and slowly. And so I continued to see progress. And I will say that one thing that was really hard was when I was hurt. And suddenly it was like, you have to come back. I was actually told by the physical therapist that she didn't think I'd be able to power lift again because the bulging disc with the massage and the powerlifting, everything, it was rotating me forward, putting me out of position. And
Hmm.
I told her, I said, I will do whatever you tell me to do, but only if you understand I'm competing again.
Yeah.
Because I wasn't going to go out because of an injury. Um, and so she helped me, and I did 2 months of no lifting, just rehab, reforming my posture, getting everything back in alignment, and
Hmm.
then slowly coming back piece by piece. And that gave me like a new drive, right? So I'd done really well, and I was maybe going to take some time off at the end of my 30s before I became a master. Then I got hurt, and I was like, oh no, I'm not stopping here. I need to come back and get stronger than I was before the injury. And honestly, I was blessed. I mean, I lifted 20 some years really without anything that stopped me from competing. I had pulled a hamstring before, but I was training equipped so I could still put on my suit and it would kind of help support me. But anytime I got to a point to where I was like, I'm not sure how fun this is anymore, something else, God would drop something else on my lap. The equipped lifting, I had kind of run its course maybe, and then raw came. And
Hmm.
I'm like, ooh, this is fun. I can train a different way. I don't have to mess with all the equipment. I can start over trying to hit new PRs. Um, I will say the one thing when it was equipped lifting, there were a lot fewer people, and it was a really close knit group.
Yeah.
And you saw people that stuck around for 10, 15, 20 years. Now with the raw, because you can come in so easily, people come in, push themselves really hard, really fast, and then sometimes it's only 3 or 4 years and you don't see them again.
Right.
Um, and so that's kind of tough. I think what I always encourage people, it's like you can push yourself hard and fast. And I understand wanting to get as strong as you can as soon as you can. We all want to be our best. But if you step back and look at the big picture, sometimes you need to say, okay, I'm young, I'm not feeling it, but I'm pushing myself in ways that are going to hurt me a year or 2 or 3 from now. And often you see the people new in the sport, as soon as they aren't seeing gains anymore, instead of figuring out what's going on and pushing through that plateau, they just stop.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I think you need to find new things to shoot for. And sadly, during all the pandemic stuff, I thought I was going to hit lifetime PBs in all my lifts because I had right before that. And then I had a hamstring injury, but I was coming back, was really, really strong. And then menopause hit. So things tanked. I wasn't sleeping. I almost passed out, thank goodness, during a deadlift, like from being so hot. like
Yeah.
didn't do a deadlift and stuff. And so I just was honest with myself and realistic with myself and said, you know what, we're going to reset my numbers, reset my goals, and I'm going to go for PBs moving on from this year. And I think that's something that a lot of people are not good at. Like they always want to be better than they've ever been, but sometimes circumstances are that the only way you can feel like you're getting progress is you have to reset your start, if that makes sense.
Yeah. No, that totally makes sense. That
And I
totally
think
makes
that's,
sense.
yeah, I think that's what kind of helped keep me because I always want to push myself to be better. So when I couldn't be stronger at the time, I tried to perfect my technique, or I tried to be able to do more reps, or I threw in a different assistant exercise, something that could just keep me battling with myself.
Yeah. I often talk about this with lifters that I coach and try to point out some of these nuances, and because I think it's a tripping point for a lot of power lifters when we're seeking that progress and we're trying to elevate our position and our ability. We get super hyper focused on that 1 RM or that estimated 1 RM, and if that's not moving, like everything's wrong and it's broken and I got to fix it, and there's becomes this catastrophization process about it. And I remind them like that the hard part about the sport of powerlifting is people focus on such a narrow amount of metrics that now there's only this one thing that matters. And I bring up the analogy like LeBron James, the all-time NBA scoring leader in the history of the NBA. Imagine if his goal in the NBA was just points based, and game one he scores 1 point, and the only focus that he has is game two, score 2 points, and then 3 points, and then 4 points, and it's just one more point, one more point. Just like we could break it down and make it smaller, one more pound, one more pound, one more pound. How long's his career going to be? There's 82 games in a season. It's probably not even going to last an entire year because his
Exactly.
focus is too narrow. And that's one of the tripping points for many people. If we look at a longevity standpoint in the sport, is if they have too narrow of a focus, it's going to be a tripping hazard. And there's a time to have a narrow focus. When you're getting ready for a meet or you're in the session, you need to have a narrow focus on what you're doing in that moment. And we also need to have the ability to step back and look at and see the entire picture in perspective. And I like that idea of
100%.
like resetting some things and resetting expectations and resetting where things are at to consider the context of the change of your situation.
Exactly. And the beauty of powerlifting is you can do it your entire life. But we have to be realistic. Like I rode the wave longer than a lot of people would. Now I see 50-year-olds getting stronger. I see 70-year-olds getting stronger, but they're not 70-year-olds that were competing when they were 20. Because let's be honest, there's some freaks out there like Dave Ricks, but even Dave Ricks, has finally lost a little bit of a step, but he's,
Right.
you know, out in the galaxy, right? But if you take someone who's never strength trained and they start when they're 60, they might get stronger until they're 70.
Yeah.
But when you take someone who started in their 20s, I was very blessed to continue to get stronger, even in my early 50s. But I'm not giving in. But I know the only way that I could not be disappointed in myself, or I had to reframe things. It's like, okay, we're going to restart. This is where I'm at right now. Now my goal is at my next meet to do a little better than my reset.
Yeah.
And I think that's something that a lot of people are not good at, or they push through injuries too much and then another injury occurs because they don't take the time to step back. They think everything has to happen right now. Or, well, if I'm not getting stronger, why bother lifting? Well, part of the reason I compete in powerlifting is it's good for my health, it's good for my mind, um, and I can do it forever. And look at the benefits I've had. Oh my gosh, I've been all around the world coaching and competing. I've got to meet people from, gosh, just about every corner of the earth. And I've got to see a lot of different, I can't believe I'm forgetting the word now, but just all the different customs and how
Yeah.
different people live. And it's like, uh, I'm really, really appreciative that I was born in the United States and all the opportunities I had, because a lot of women in other countries at when I was first lifting, even though there weren't many people in South Dakota, there were females in the US competing. And a lot of countries there weren't many people. And even nowadays it's just starting to be more and more. So I think when you learn to really focus and be intentional about your training, and if you can do that, it bleeds into the rest of your life, because you realize if I can be super focused and get this done, then I can be really focused on this job, or I can be really focused on getting a house one day, or, you know, it's strength training does so much more than just make you strong.
Agreed. You mentioned, I want to back up to the adjusting the expectations and adjusting like where things are at based on the context of the situation. Would you say that that's a skill that you've always possessed, or would you say that that's a skill that strength training and barbell work has taught you?
I would say, I would guess that some of that was innately within me.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
However, strength training has certainly helped, because you see people, and because of my strength training and the people around me that were very focused, you see people go through plateaus, or they go down, they get weaker for a while, but they really focus on the process and about coming back and doing what they can and figuring out why it stalled. Maybe you're not sleeping right. Maybe you're really stressed because of family life. There's a lot of different things that can happen. Or look, sometimes we're really strong one day and other days we're not. Maybe your training went amazing, but your competition didn't. And I think training has taught me, because I've seen in myself that some days you go in the gym and you just don't have it as much as other days. And I've also been able to see other people come back from injuries or have low points or plateaus, and you see that that can happen and you can continue on. And I've also then seen people that often they plateau and they don't reset their goals,
Mm.
and then they're just gone. And so I think part of that I learned from seeing all the people fall off. The second they weren't getting stronger, they left. And I'm like, well, I don't want to leave. This is fun. This is good for me. And I just need to be realistic. And I think coaching helped too, because it was something I preached to people before I ever had to do it myself.
Oh yeah.
So that helped me a lot, even just in everyday life, not just in lifting. And a lot of things, you're going to have ups and downs. And if you give up just because there's a down, were you really in it?
True. True. But on the flip side of that coin too, because the theme being intentional here, at some point you also have to say enough is enough. So what would you
100%.
think is when do you think like the slide is enough and this is just not something for me, versus the slide being something that you're creating, the way you're approaching it and the choices you're making, and you learn, be like, oh, I'm forcing this, I need to reset to climb back up. How would you characterize knowing what to differentiate from that?
So, just to clarify your question, are you saying, when do you think enough is enough? I'm just never competing anymore, or enough is enough? I need to reset my expectations.
Yeah, I mean, because it doesn't even have to be competing. It could even just be like lifting and yeah, generally competing. But like it could it can relate to a lot of things. But obviously, we're kind of talking about lifting, and there is a time when enough is enough, and we have to stop.
I think there's a few things. If continuing to push on and press on and try to do what you're doing is making you unhappy, miserable, affecting the other parts of your life, affecting the other people in your life, if
Mm-hmm.
you're not having fun anymore, then you need to change something. Because honestly, I think you need to have fun doing it. And other people will say you just need discipline, you need to train because training's good for you and it's good for your health. But there needs to be, at least for me, something that I enjoy in it. Even if I'll tell people, well, as soon as you're done, the endorphins are going to feel good. So even if you hate your whole workout, people that need to come in and train and just get overall healthier, I'll say it might be hard. You might not love it at first, but you're going to love how you feel afterwards. If
Yeah.
you can't find some sort of joy that you're still getting afterwards, even if it's just the satisfaction that, okay, I did this, so now I don't have to feel so bad because I exercised today. But if you can't see quality in your life from what you're doing, then you should reset something. You might need to step back. Maybe you have to step away from powerlifting. I'll just use that because we're powerlifters. Maybe you
Hmm.
still go into the gym some, but you just focus on cardio, or maybe you start swimming, or maybe you do other things, something new, something that maybe brings you joy, or you can find new PRs, whether it be I walked a mile today instead of only around the block kind of thing. And sometimes stepping away will help people realize how much they love it and they come back and there's a reset and their expectations are already different because they've stepped away.
Yeah.
So I think it's different for each person, but I also would say if someone's just training in the gym or competing, if you are continually getting hurt, you need to step back, reevaluate, and not focus on strength, but focus on healing. And then there's a chance the strength will come. But I truly believe too many times people have, like you said, that narrow focus. I just need to get stronger now.
Yeah.
They don't look at the big picture, and it's hard. You really need some good people in your life that can say to you, hey, this might be a time to step back. And then you can come back even stronger, or you can come back and enjoy lifting, or everything in life is kind of like that. Just like I think if someone's in a job that they hate, if it's possible in your spare time, you need to try to find a job that you're going to enjoy. Now some people
Yeah.
are in small towns and are kind of stuck with, like my sister, she works at a place that she's been at that has good health benefits and things like that. Small town. She doesn't have a lot of options, so she sticks around. Um, but then I tell her you need to find something else in your life that will bring you joy because you
Yeah.
can't change your job. So,
I like the idea of a lot of that because is the lifting needs to add value to your life, not just a PR. One of one of my all-time favorite coaching experiences was several years ago. A lifter I was working with was an untested lifter, and he was good, like so strong. We just needed to get him into a meet to make it official, but at the time, like he was sub-max effort, hitting all-time untested PRs across the board for all three lifts, and was going to obliterate the junior all-time world record for untested, like obliterate it. We're like,
wow,
whoa,
what's going on? Yeah.
yeah. And when he calls me one day, like, hey, can we get on a video call? I'm like, yeah, yeah. We get on the call. He's like, I quit. I'm like, what's going on? He's like, I gotta quit. I'm gonna die. I'm gonna die from this. I'm like, well, what do you mean? What's going on? He's like, well, I'm taking way more than I'm supposed to, way more than my substance coach is telling me to take, and I'm not cycling off like I'm supposed to. And through my work with you for the first time in my life, I value my life. Whereas before, I didn't care. I'll die at all costs. I want to do this. But now I actually care about myself, and I can't compete and care about myself at the same time. So I have to quit. I can't compete. And it was like, whoa. I've never
Wow.
cried on a video call with a lifter before, except for that time. But to think that our work together impacted him to a point where he valued his life more than lifting weights was huge. And I think
Oh,
about that as a lot how it relates to like what you're saying is that it needs to add value to your life, not detract from it. At the end of the day,
Exactly.
it's a hobbyist sport. We don't have a multi-million dollar contract that we're fighting for like in professional sports. So it needs to be adding value to your life.
Well, and I think you have a couple different things. This was eons ago. It might be different now, but I had a friend who was a chiropractor that took a lot of sports psychology classes and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And people that got into bodybuilding or whether they competed in powerlifting, just trying to get stronger, often had either body issues in the past, too
Mm-hmm.
skinny, so they had to get bigger, too fat, they had to get leaner. They started as to make themselves better, but then they actually were never ever good enough for themselves, never
Mm-hmm.
strong enough, never
Yeah.
lean enough, never skinny. And I look at that and I think, wow, if you're only doing it because you don't think you're good enough, how long can you do this healthily? And they a few people that I knew that were like that, it was like it wasn't fun, it was just a job. And
Mm-hmm.
it's really hard to do something that's extracurricular. Like you said, we're not getting paid for this. Um, but Matt and I always say when we're coaching someone, because we don't write training plans anymore, we do just game day coaching or hands on coaching.
Mm-hmm.
I don't just want to make someone stronger. I hope that I can help make their life better. That's
Yeah.
what you did to this gentleman. I mean, to have someone that young admit to you that they really didn't even care about life before, but after working with you, they actually cared to live. And
Yeah.
it's like, wow. I mean, I wish him all the success and everything because with that attitude, he can step back, come at it smarter, possibly do it again. But he was more worried about his life. And, I had the 79-year-old lady I mentioned, she came in because she had some back issues and couldn't reach things off the shelf without it hurting. And we started really light. And she did get stronger. Her back didn't hurt within 2 weeks of training with me. She could now carry half a box up her stairs instead of call a neighbor when she wanted something from her split level. So the strength was a plus. But what I saw in her that changed that had nothing to do with strength was 100 times even more important. She was the most confident, happy lady. I mean, she was smiling and saying how she loved our gym because there would be guys benching 500 pounds and she'd be going for a PR 85-pound trap bar deadlift and everyone would stop and cheer her on.
Yeah.
But she was just a different, confident person. She loved herself more and believed in herself more because when she came in the gym, she didn't think she could do things. And by focusing slowly, just getting a little bit better, she realized when she put her mind to things and gave it time, she could do a lot of things she didn't think she could do. And that's something I love about lifting because some people come in and say, I'm going to squat 1,000 pounds one day. Most people don't, right?
Right.
Most people come in like I know what you bench now. When you first started training, was the first thought in your head, I want to bench this much? Or was it like, wow, I want to bench 225 or I
Yeah. I mean, I think probably the first goal like that would have been 315 just because the guy that
three
was teaching
plates?
me how to lift that day was benching 315, so that was like the impression on my young 7th grader 12-year-old self was,
Uh,
whoa, that's fucking cool. So
I want to
like
do
that was
that one day.
definitely like that main like big pie in the sky goal. And then when I did hit it, there was a moment of like, well, now what?
Yeah,
Now, where else can I go? How far can I take
right.
this?
Exactly. So if you'd asked your seventh grade self, are you going to bench more than 315 one day? Are you going to bench more than 400 one day? You might have said, I don't think so. But now, if I asked you, hey, do you think you can do this or that? Even if I said to you, do you think you could run a marathon? What would you tell me?
Oh, I'd say no on the marathon just because I have no interest in trying, and I'm
No, but
being
that wasn't
realistic
my
about it.
question. No, my question is, could you run a marathon? Because like now at 57 with my knees bothering me some, I don't know. But I will tell you that about it was right before I met Matt, so about 22 years ago. So I was
Mm-hmm.
in my mid 30s. I was massaging some people that ran half marathons and marathons. And they were telling me how awesome and fun the rock and roll half marathon was. And I was like, well, I'm a power lifter. This isn't a good time. I don't want it to mess with my training. And then they found one that was like 3 months after Worlds and 4 months before Nationals. So I was like, yeah, I can do it. I'm like, I'm not going to be fast, but I'm not going to
Right.
be last. And I can do anything I put my mind to. So I was going to run a half marathon until the next client who ran marathons, I said to her, hey, I'm going to run the half marathon with you all. And she's like, why? I said, well, to challenge myself, to prove to myself I can do something, even though I don't particularly love running. She's like, Susie, you're a world competitor in powerlifting. You've proved to yourself you can do things that other people can't do. And I was like, oh, I'm so glad I talked to you because I really don't want to run. But if someone told me I had to run a half marathon, that I had to, I truly believe I could. I'm not saying I'd
Yeah.
be fast, but I would finish it because I would figure out what I needed to do to make it to the end, even if I had to walk the whole thing.
Yeah. Right.
And
I
and
could
I think
do it that way.
And I think that's something that when you're super intentional and you really focus on a process, you realize you can do a lot of things that you didn't think you could do. And so
For
that's
sure.
why I really think that lifting weights, because you can actually see progress. Like if you're playing basketball and you're not a scoring person, you don't necessarily see a whole lot of progress easily. But if you're lifting weights and you can do 1 pound more, you can tell you were better than the time before.
True.
And it can build your confidence.
Very true. Very
Anyway,
true.
I went on a tangent, but
Oh, we're here for it. We like tangents. Tangents are good. Tangents
yeah.
are good. So what about switching gears a little bit here? When you've won at the highest level, what's that like for you to be done? Like you get to that pinnacle and then you step off the podium. Like what's the reaction? How do you take a step forward to continue to compete as long as you have after? Like what keeps that going for you?
I For me, I just love to compete. I love lifting weights, but I love to compete. Like if I could do it and my body would handle it, I would do a
Mm-hmm.
competition every month. I just love the the pressure of going out on the platform and getting everything right. And I love seeing all my friends at the competition, other people that are meatheads like me. Um, I just truly enjoy that. So when I'm done with the competition, usually, I'll take a little bit of time off. Way back when we used to take a whole week off. Now it
That's
might be
tough.
3 or 4 days. Oh, it used to be 2 weeks when I first started for Equip. They'd be like, you got to take 2 weeks off. And I'm like, 2 weeks? Like a week's easy
Can't do
because
it.
I usually coach and then I usually compete and then I end up coaching a bunch of people. So I'm moving, but I'm not lifting. It was
Yeah.
way different 30 some years ago. Um, but I'll step back and I'll do higher volume or do some different things, not just lift heavy,
Yeah.
in the
For
meet
sure.
prep. But it's like if when I win, I'm like, that's so awesome. I want to do it again. And I don't get a depression, although I've known quite a few people that they win and like a day or two later, like you see them go into a depression.
Mm.
And they kind of explained it as you work and work and work maybe for 6 months to peak on this one day. And that's all you were looking at. And now you've won, and now there's not going to be anything to look forward to for 6 more months. And I've seen them almost fall into a depression because it's like, okay, I'm done. What now? Um, and for me, it was a it. I just kind of train lighter, take it a little bit easier for a couple of weeks, just kind of have fun, hang out with people in the gym more, chat with people more, kind of like relax, let my hair down kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but when I won, I just wanted to get stronger. I just wanted to do better or do it again. And, I didn't know if I'd ever win another open world championship, and I didn't. But I would go into competition saying, well, I'm going to squat more than myself, or I want to medal in the bench this time, and I'd pick different goals that were realistic because, like at this point in time in my life, when I competed in South Africa last year,
Hmm.
I knew going into it that I had had some issues with my deadlift. My shoulder was a bit tweaked. My bench was down. My deadlift was down a lot. So I said, you know what? Realistically, unless the other girl, Antoinette, in my class really screws the pooch, I can't beat her this year. Like Susie, healthy, could beat her. But I knew that myself right then and there, if I went in focusing on winning, I was going to be very upset and let down.
Yeah.
Um, I didn't take away from myself the possibility. There's always a possibility, but instead I focused on I'm going to get a world record squat. I'm going to make 8 or 9 lifts, and I'm going to come and be the best person I've been in the past 3, 4 months. And wrapping my head around it that way, I placed second at the Master World Championships for the first time in my life because every time I've competed as a master, I've won. And I could have been really, really bummed out. But I hit the squat and I only missed one deadlift. So I was like, I did what Susie on that day was capable of doing. So I was really happy. And I think the only reason I was really happy getting second was because I was realistic coming in that, hey, you never know, you could get first, but let's focus on what we can do. Because if Antoinette's stronger than me, she's stronger than me.
Yeah.
And there's nothing I can do about it right now. I can train to try to be stronger than her next year. But if on that day she's 10, 15 kilos stronger, I can't make her weaker and I can't snap my fingers and make me stronger. What can I do? So I
Yeah.
really focused on being the best version of myself that day.
Yeah. Beautiful. Beautiful. I think there's a couple of really key points of things there I think to highlight for people is like what you're doing is you're anchoring the outcome, your desired outcome, into things that are more within your control. You're anchoring your expectations for the meet and the outcome of the meet to something that is more realistic. And in quite in all honesty, being respectful of other competitors rather than thinking like, oh, I just need to smash everybody, win at all costs, second place is the first loser, and all that toxic sports bullshit. Like you're staying within Susie and being grounded within yourself. And I think a lot of people miss that part. And that's when they go and they have these meets and they come out of the meets and they have hard feelings. They feel like crap. They go into depression because they have expectations that are nowhere near grounded in reality.
100%. And I've worked with people, and you don't want to sit, you dance around things. You don't outright say to somebody, look, there's no way you're going to win unless you really know someone well. Like, let's say that you're competing and I'm coaching you, and there's someone who on their worst day is 40 kilos stronger than you. If you're talking about winning, I'm going to say, Ross, let's be realistic. We're friends enough. I could say to you, let's shoot for second. And if things really go off the wires for him, then you got a shot at first. But let's not plan on getting first and being let down if you don't, because if he's 40 kilos stronger than you, that's not realistic. But I see people that come in. I had a lifter go 9 for 9 PRs across the board and got fourth. So really upset, hadn't made the podium and everything. And there's two things I always do. Like, you give them a little time, and then the next day I was talking with them and I said, look, your feelings of being upset that you didn't make the podium, 100%, those feelings are yours. They're true. I'm not going to say that you shouldn't be having them because I might be having them myself if I were you. But the one crazy thing about powerlifting is you can be disappointed you didn't make the podium, but you can be proud as shit that you hit PRs, went 9 for 9, and had the best day you could. I said, I want you to focus on how awesome you did and how close you were to getting the podium. And yes, you can be disappointed that you didn't make the podium, but you can't be disappointed in you because you did better than you've ever done before. Now we just have to make you a little stronger so next time you are on the podium. Like you can be upset you didn't win or upset you didn't get the podium, but also still be proud of how well you did. And I run into a lot of people, if they don't place where they want to, even if they lifted amazing, they're just upset, let down,
Yeah,
the air out of their balloon.
for sure. For sure. And I know, at least from my own, the way I've experienced it, I think painting another picture, you could have an even more atrocious meet. Like the one I had in Ireland when I went over for Abs Pro. And arguably it was the worst meet of my career. I almost bombed on bench. I went 5 for 9. I was below the standard that you and Matt have set with 6 for 9. Like it was an unacceptable performance. And at the end of the day, I chose to look at this as like, hey, you know what? I had a bad meet. That doesn't mean I'm a bad power lifter. That doesn't mean I'm weak. It doesn't mean I'm a bad coach. I had a bad meet. So what? And it was finally like one of those freeing moments for me that all the mental health work that I had done through the years, I finally got to that point for me where I wasn't using powerlifting and athletics and accomplishments to validate and justify who and what I was.
Oh, I'm so glad you said that because that's another thing. Um, it's funny because I'll go to one of my friends always has a Christmas party,
Mm-hmm.
and all people that work for him, businesses that come to him because he fixes fleets of cars and stuff. He has this big party, and it's always like, "This is my friend Susie. She's a world champion, or And I don't mind. He's a sweetheart, and he's just proud of me, and he's always been supportive of me. But I luckily have always known I'm not just a power lifter. If
Right.
you take away powerlifting from me, I'm going to be sad, but powerlifting isn't who I am.
Yeah.
Powerlifting is something I love to do. And a lot of people in powerlifting, training, their job, their business, too many people focus their value, their self worth in what they do, not who they are. And I
Yeah.
think those people, it's even harder because if they think they let themselves down and they let everybody else down, because I've seen people win on, I won and had a crappy meet before. I mean, I know
Yep.
you didn't have the meet you wanted this year and you won.
No.
And I'm like, I'm really disappointed that I didn't get my foot right at nationals and I missed the last deadlift because my deadlift was stronger than it's been in a long time. But I'm like, I'm going to work on that from now on. I'm moving the bar forward. I'm going to take a lesson from this, and I'm not going to be one of those people who is, ooh, poor me, when I won and the person who got second would give anything to be me.
Right.
So I'm just going to say things didn't go the way they should have. I'm going to work on trying to make it better. But hey, I did the best I could that day. Now, if you're going 5 for 9 all the time, you need to check yourself because you're doing things wrong.
Right.
But when you're usually hitting 8 and 9 and you have a bad day, we're human. And like you said, that's not who you are. You're an amazing human being and you're a strong powerlifter.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Like what?
Thanks.
You know, this, I think one of the other things to pull at with this too is the thing that taught me this was when I started to coach for Mike full time and I left the engineering job. When I was engineering, I lived about 15 minutes from work, and we were supposed to get there, 8 o'clock. I could never get there at 8 o'clock, even though I was only 15 minutes away. I struggled to get there by 8:30, and fortunately, like our work was, we had a small community, a small group of engineers, and we all like kind of had a little bit of some ebb and flow to our work schedule. So as long as you got there and did your 8 hours worth of work, you were usually good. It wasn't a big deal. And as long as you didn't miss meetings with clients. If you were supposed to be there at 8 for a meeting, you better be there at 8. Those times I was fine. But when the day one to start coaching, I was up 6 o'clock, boom, done, wide awake. And I sat there and thought for a minute, I'm like, whoa, this is that doing that thing that you love and you don't work a day in your life. Here I am ready to go. I want to get up. I want to go to work. But then I also sat and reflected on that for a moment. And if powerlifting went away today, likewise, yes, I would be sad. I love the sport of powerlifting. But if it went away today, I would find something else. Powerlifting is just the vehicle, and I can change vehicles. It's not even the coaching. It's the working with other people to help them be a better version of themselves. It just so happens that we do it through the vehicle of the sport of powerlifting and the pursuit of strength. That's really the core essence. And when we
Yes.
pull that back and we look at that with reflection, with intentionality, and we look at that through our training lens and what we're doing as athletes, that's when we don't give a shit if we have a bad meet. I mean, we still care, right? There's still a degree of care,
It
but
doesn't
we're
ruin
not
us.
demoralized.
Exactly.
It's a, dang, what was this here to teach me? What can I learn from this so that I don't make these mistakes again in the future? Rather than, oh
Yeah.
my gosh, I'm such a horrible lifter, I should quit. Like that doesn't even
Yeah.
ever cross your mind because you're
No.
rooted and grounded in more.
I do have a confession. Back in 1990,
Mm-hmm.
so I was a nanny and we were skiing in Aspen, and they'd opened up the bottom of the mountain, and we were going slowly around a catwalk, and a snowboarder came flying by, hit me. I went off the side of the cliff. Luckily, I only went out about 2 feet, but I went down about 10 feet, pulled a groin. Um, the mom and the son didn't even realize I wasn't with them. So I climbed myself back up, put the skis on, made it down the hill, and was only about, I don't know, a couple months maybe from my national championship.
Mm-hmm.
And I was a wide stance equipped squatter.
Yeah.
And I had to bring and have my legs almost pointed straight forward because everything else was severely painful. And I was going to win my first USPF nationals. I just knew I was going to. And first one, I got called high. And Kirk was coaching me, and Kirk was like, "It was in, but you're usually really deep. So, and the way you're built, it's hard to tell. Just, go again." Second one, high. Third one called high. Jury said I could take a fourth attempt. So I took a fourth one, got called again, bombed. Now, I my calves were hitting my hamstrings. I couldn't physically go the way I was squatting. I couldn't physically get any deeper. Kirk thought two of them were in, so I was really upset, and I didn't swear at the time, but I went in the back and I swore, and I said to him, "I went as deep as I could possibly go, and if I can't tell what depth is in the squat, then I should probably never compete again." And he looked at me and he said, "I don't want to ever hear those words out of your mouth again unless you mean it. That's blasphemy." And it just, but I was so upset with myself because I'm like, I literally, my hamstrings were hitting my calves. How can you go any deeper? And then someone comes up, Michael Coulter, who's actually competing now. He comes up and he goes, "If you would have just opened your knees a little, it would have given you another half inch." And I'm like, "Why didn't you tell me after my second squat?" But I mean, I don't even know if I could have done that because of the adductor. But
Right.
so there was one time in my life, and he set me straight immediately. It's like things don't necessarily go your way, but like don't play with saying you're going to stop something just because something went bad. And it just snapped me back to reality.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think it's also, I don't say any of the things that I've said to undermine the fact that we are human and we're having a human experience. And from time to time, we're going to have an emotional reaction and say some things
Oh
that we might not necessarily mean. And that's okay. I think the bigger point is having those things and people around us that can bring us back into the awareness of reality in ourselves and what's important and get away from some of the unbridled emotion of it.
and that's part of the reason why I told you about that, because people have never seen me that way. I'm super focused on my lifts.
Right.
Like people have said, "You're all bouncy and stuff when you're talking, and when you're either refereeing or lifting, you're like laser focused." And I'm like, "Well, that's a time I need to be laser focused."
Yeah.
But most of the time, things won't go my way, and it's like, well, I bombed in Dubai. I lost my balance backwards. I got the squat, lost my balance backwards. Next one, lost my balance, or no, forwards, then backwards. And then I finished and took a baby step on my third. No idea why. Strongest I'd been in a long time. I come off. I said to James Townsend and to Matt, I said, I am so sorry, guys, but this is going to be the best bench deadlift meet I've ever done. Because I was already done with squats, because it was like, I can be super upset or I can move on. And I hit a lifetime BB in the deadlift that day.
Oh
It
yeah.
didn't count, but I hit a lifetime PB. So
Right. Yeah. I mean, that'll happen. You mentioned in your other story that you didn't swear and then you went back and you did swear, and I always think about how you don't swear. You don't swear like I swear. It's rare that that happens, and I always remember. I'll never forget in Killeen, Texas, in 2012 when you were handling me, and I missed my third squat, and I was being a Debbie Downer about it. I was letting it really get to me, and you came over and put your hand on on my shoulder, and you're like, "I'm gonna go to the bathroom, and when I get back, you're gonna be done with this shit, and we're gonna bench." And you just walked right away. There was no opportunity for me to rebut, and in my head, I go, "Well, okay. When the world champion tells you to do something, you do it. Get over your shit, Ross. Let's go." And it worked. Had a good meet the rest of the meet.
you did. You lifted. It
Yeah,
was
it was
good.
great. One of the other things I wanted to ask you about, Susie, in our conversation today, when you deadlift, you always yell, "You and me, God." And in our sport, we always talk about the mental, emotional, and the physical. But I also think that there is the spiritual part and the faith part that plays a big part. And that can look a lot different for everybody. Obviously, for you, that is in using that phrase of "you and me, God." Where does that come from? I've never asked you that. I've never talked to you about that. I know that you're a devout religious practitioner, but I've never had this conversation. So I wanted to open that up today.
So first, I'd say I wouldn't describe myself as a devout religious practitioner. I'm
Okay.
just a
Thank you for
lover
the
and
clarity.
believer. No, no. The reason I say that is a lot of people look at religion as, a negative thing almost. I'm a lover and believer in Jesus, and he's in my heart, and I try to live my life that way. But I like to think I don't act like I'm religious, because a lot of people that do
Mhm.
make you think you have to be perfect, and I'm not. Nobody
Yeah.
is, and things like
I've
that.
never
But
felt that
anyway,
way with you or Matt. That's one of the things I've always appreciated about working with both of you is, like I know that there is that spirituality in your life, and I've never felt like it's been projected onto me in any way.
oh, good, good. Okay. So that's the only reason I said that. But so in the gym, you know how people are swearing because they're mad, or swearing to fire themselves up. People do that all the time. Well,
Yeah.
when I was getting ready, it was when I was still lifting equipped. I was doing equipped and raw, and I was thinking, man, this is going to be really hard. I'm so tired. All this in my head. And I grabbed the bar, and in my head, I'm like, you and me, God, you can help me do this. I know I can do this with you, is what I was saying in my head. And I did it a few times, but I never said anything out loud, because there were a lot of Jewish people. I didn't want to offend them, although I'd say God, not Jesus. So I don't know what I was thinking, but I just never wanted to offend people. So I
Yeah.
wouldn't ever say it out loud. And then I can't remember which world championships, but it was before Russia. It was somewhere between Colleen and Sweden, I think. But I got up to the bar. I was getting ready to go for a world record squat. It was going through my head again, and I didn't know I was doing it. And I screamed, "You and me, God, let's go!" And I smashed into the bar, hit the world record squat, walked off, and was like, "Oh, am I going to get in trouble? I just for screaming that, And nobody said anything. And I posted it on Facebook, and I left it on the end of the post.
Hmm.
And then I had people reach out to me saying, "I didn't know you were a believer. I didn't know you were a Christian." And I said, "Yeah." And they're like, "Oh, can we pray together at the next meet?" And I was like, "Sure." And we were in Colleen, and I had a girl come up to me, and she's and so that's the first time it happened. And I always joke and say it was God or the Holy Spirit slapping me on the face saying, if you're not going to say it, we're going to make you say it.
Right.
Because I
Yeah.
didn't knowingly say it. And then after the first time I said it out loud, when I was going for a really big lift, I'd often say it, but not necessarily say it very loud. In the gym, I wouldn't hold it in anymore. And then it became part of my process. Not that I was purposely ever doing it or saying it, but often it might be 5 or 9 times going up to the lift, but it's me just focusing, saying, I truly feel like with him, I can do it. And I'm not holding it in anymore. And it just, because I wasn't someone that ever talked about my faith, except for people that I knew also were believers, because
Yeah.
I didn't want anyone to be uncomfortable. And I just feel like that was my way of, without even talking to anyone, if it comes out, it comes out. If it's loud, if it's quiet. But it just touched my heart when in Killeen, I had a girl come up to me in tears, and I was competing on one platform. She was on the other. And she's like, are you and me, God? And I was like, yeah, I think so. And she's like, will you pray with me? She's like, I'm having a terrible day. I'm breaking down and I don't think I can finish this meet. I'd never seen her before, but she'd seen one of my videos on Facebook. And we
Hmm.
prayed together. And then I saw her at the end of the meet and she's like, thank you. You calmed me down. She's like, I had a really good deadlift. Squats and bench were atrocious, but she's like, I just needed someone to help calm me down. So it was like, I try now not to hold it in. I don't ever do it purposefully. It's almost like part of my process though, that like when I'm getting really intense, I say it, sometimes loud, sometimes quiet. But that's how it came into effect. It wasn't me doing it on purpose. It was me
Right.
finally not holding it in.
Yeah. Well, how did that feel for you to not to stop holding it in, to be able to
It
let it
felt
out and give yourself that permission, I suppose?
Yeah, it actually felt really good because, like I say, I have a big faith, but I'm not an evangelist. I'm not someone that can go out and just talk to people about it. And it's like I'm
Hmm.
getting teary-eyed. It's a way of me sharing with people without having to share with people.
Yeah.
But now I'm more open. I'm still not going to be in someone's face, but my dear friend Joa Ayanada, I know she grew up Catholic, and I don't think she'll mind me mentioning that, people go through different faith journeys, and she's not as close as she had been.
Hmm.
And we were getting together a group of people to um, pray together before a competition at nationals. And I invited her over, and I don't know, I'm sure you've been in one of those prayers. If you haven't, you
Yeah.
have to join us. Matt gets so fired up. He's almost in tears when he's praying,
Yeah.
blessing everybody and stuff, that everyone left just fired up afterward. And, she said, I'm not someone that would normally pray right before competing, but she's like, if you all ever do that again, I need to be part of it. So, everybody, some people are more outward and some people are inward, but it's it's a freeing feeling not to feel like I have to hide it anymore. I
Definitely.
don't know why I ever felt like I had to, but I never wanted to offend anyone.
Yeah. Yeah. I get the feeling of being able to let it out. It's good. I like it. I appreciate it. So since letting it out, and you said there's been people that have come up to you since then and had conversations with you and prayed with you. What else is like transpired or happened or changed since letting it out? Like, are you able to? Do you feel like you have gotten closer to God in your relationship in practice? Like, I, I don't even know
I
what question to ask. I guess just curious as to, like, what
no,
else is
that's a
how does
great
how
non.
does the
That's
lifting wait there, maybe that's it, how is like the lifting and that coming out within your lifting like impacted your spiritual and faith practices?
I think by that coming out in the lifting and seeing the positive responses that I got from people, as opposed to people being offended that I said it, it made me more to where I never am going to preach to someone, but it made me more open that now in everyday life, I'll be talking with someone and I'll say, God bless you, or I'll pray for you, where I didn't do it as much before. And it also makes me feel closer to God and Jesus because now, shamefully, I'm like, Susie, you shouldn't have been holding it in. It wasn't that I was ashamed of Jesus. It was like I was always afraid of offending people. But then I look back now and I'm like, well, shame on me, because
Yeah.
you shouldn't be afraid to share your faith. You shouldn't shove it down someone's throat, but you shouldn't hold it back because it's my belief. I know other people have other beliefs, and I never look down on them for it. But I've also
Yeah.
seen other people that are like, "Oh, you're religious." They'll say it in a dirty way, like, and I'm like, "No, I'm a believer."
Yeah. Well, and I get it because I know for me, I've had a couple of experiences in my life that in the past had left, I guess, a bad taste in my mouth when religion comes up. Um, and in healing that and letting that go and realizing that that's not the religion, that's just the person. And it's that moment, it's just that event. It's not the totality of it all, it's not the measurement of it all. I'm much more comfortable and able to have conversations like this with people. John Garofano's been very influential on that in helping me realize, like, I need to chill out about it. I need to stop being so offended by it. That's my problem. What is it telling me? What is my nature telling me? Especially because it's not like somebody's coming and telling me that I need to believe what they believe. I just hear it and there's like this internal reaction. And it's been beautiful to let that go so that I can come to the plate and I can have these conversations, because I think there's a lot of beautiful lessons and beautiful exchanges that can come from it. So I get why you would have some of those reservations, and I'm grateful that you no longer have those reservations.
I am too, and it's a freeing feeling, and I have a lot of friends that are non-believers. Um, but they've all said to me when I'll say, "Is it okay if I pray for you?" And they'll be like, "I will never turn away prayers from you because I know they're from a really good place. And just because I don't believe doesn't mean I don't want you praying for me." And when you don't shove things on people, but you lovingly just share with them, I think that makes a difference too. And if you had experience where people were shoving things down your throat, or I'm better than you because I'm this,
Yeah.
it's a bad rap on in any religion.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. So it's beautiful. Thank you for sharing that.
Oh, you're welcome.
So what's next for Susie? Like, what are you eyeballing? Where do you go next with your pursuits?
My next pursuit is to get this body back in shape and get healthy. Um, I had gained a bunch of weight. I mean, I easily stayed in my weight class for 20 years, no problem. Didn't really change anything other than life and menopause. Not an excuse, just a reality. With the hormones being different, I was eating perfect, gaining weight, eating crap, losing weight.
Hmm.
My hormones didn't know what to do. So I gained a lot of weight. So right now I am working on losing weight, and I've cut about 10 pounds in the past 3.5 months. And that's not a lot of weight for 3.5 months, but I knew I wasn't competing for a while, and I was going on vacation with my sisters, and I was going to do this and that. So my goal when I working with my nutritionist, I said, I want to let you know that my goal is that even if I'm only losing zero point 0.1 pound or not losing at all, if I'm not gaining going on all these trips and travels, and that's a success for me. And I
Yeah.
said, if you don't want to work with me, because I'm going to tell you right now, I was super strict for 30 years. And at this point in my life right now, I don't want to be super strict. When I go with my sisters, I went to Branson, Tennessee. I said, I want to have homemade fudge. I want to eat dessert with
Yeah.
them, or I want to have pizza. I'm going to limit how much of it I eat, and I'm going to try to do pretty good. but I'm not going to spend my whole vacation worrying about being perfect. And he's like,
Right.
cool. Hey, you're telling me your goals. And so I was super excited that during that whole process, I had lost like 7 pounds. And now that I've been home, I've lost three more because it's pretty easy once I'm making my own food. You can
Yeah.
pick perfect stuff. You can get a grilled chicken breast and you could have 200 calories more than you think because of what they put on it,
Right.
you know.
Yeah, for sure.
But so continuing to get back into shape and compete either as a 52 or a 57 at Powerlifting America Nationals. I'm not going to force anything, um, but my guess is I'll weigh between 52 and 53 kilos. I'm
Gotcha.
not going to push it, but I'm not going to be 57 kilos.
Yeah.
I don't care if I'm 52.1, but I'm not going to be up in the 57s anymore. So that's number one goal. And then to win nationals and be able to do Master Worlds in Reno.
Yeah.
Um, just would really like to have a home game and look forward to competing with a bunch of my friends from around the world and coaching a bunch of my friends at the championships.
Yeah. Well, then we'll definitely see you in Corpus Christi in May.
Yeah. And I
Yeah.
guess the next thing is I will be coaching Anthony McNaughton at the Sheffield.
Mm.
So
Gotcha. Yeah.
that's my coaching, but for me lifting, it'll be Texas.
Yeah. Fantastic. Well, I look forward to it. I wish you well with Anthony at the Sheffield, and I'll see you in Corpus Christi. At least
Yes,
that's
you
my
will.
intention. That's my plan. So,
Yep. God willing.
yes, God willing. Fantastic, Susie. Is there any last nuggets of wisdom that you would like to leave our listeners with before we sign off for the day?
I guess I'd say, look, find a way to have some fun. Find somebody who, even if they're not a power lifter, can understand your dedication to the sport, a friend, a spouse, that when you're down and out, you can go to them and just talk with them and let it out. And if you need to step back, step back. If you stay in something when you're not having fun, you're probably never going to come back because you're going to just burn out. Um, so try to find fun and everything and give yourself a little bit of a pat in the back for the things you do right and not just a kick in the butt for the things you do wrong. Because too many
100%.
times we're all too hard on ourselves, and pushing yourself to be the best you can be is one thing, but nobody is perfect. So strive for perfection, but don't expect to ever be perfect.
Yeah, absolutely. Beautiful. Thank you so much for spending some time with me today, Susie, and sharing some of the nuggets of wisdom from your decades of pursuing strength. I thank you so much and wish you all the best.
Thank you, my powerlifting son.
Thank you.